Hey guys, just doing a video on percents like we talked about for your homework. Section 6.1 and 6.2 out of the textbook. Should be fairly easy. You should have a pretty good background about this. We're going to start off with just basically talking about the definitions. First off, a percent, we just got out of the ratio unit. A percent is actually a ratio. You don't see it that way very much, but by definition, it's the ratio of a number to 100. So for example, if you looked at this, if I took the number 6 and I made it a ratio to 100, that's equivalent to 6%. Okay? So that's what it means by that. Anything, a ratio is a number to 100. Even if I had something to this, if I had 235 over 100, again, that's that number to 100, that would be 235%. Okay? The percent symbol, I know you guys know, is right here. And we will go ahead and get started on some example problems just to make sure you guys are good. If you notice, we have a figure here. It says what percentage of this figure is filled in. Well, this is a grid that has 100 squares in it, so it's something out of 100. So what you need to do is you just need to count the shaded squares, the ones that are filled in. The 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Oh, let me start over because something just messed up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. So technically, what percentage? That would be 28%. Always make sure that it is a grid out of 100, because if it wasn't a grid with 100, it would be a different percentage. What percentage is not filled in? Well, if 28% is filled in, you can do 100 minus 28 to get the percentage that's not. That would be 72% would not be filled in. Okay, so I'm going to randomly throw in, to make sure you're watching these videos, I'm going to throw in what we learned today about the coordinate plane. You're going to need to answer these questions. You can do this on a separate sheet of paper, or I will post it. If you want to print this, you can do it. I'll put it on the web page. But you need to answer these questions, and you need to turn these in next class as part of your homework. All right, next with fractions is writing a percent as a fraction. It's really easy. I'm going to teach you a method here in a second. I think you'll remember this. DP, it's called the Dr. Pepper method. It's pretty easy to remember. And I'll show you how it works. Okay? So, in this example problem, it says what fraction is 45% equivalent to? Okay? Well, we'll get back to the Dr. Pepper method, but again, if we set a fraction, we know that a percentage is out of 100, is a number out of 100. Well, if I took 32%, if I took 45% and I made it into a fraction, okay, well, I can just make it as, we know that's 45 out of 100. Now, we want it in simplest form, as it says. With that being said, reduce it, find their GCF, what's the highest number that 45 and 100 can be divided by. Okay, and right now I'm going to go with 5. Okay, and that would reduce to, if I divided 45 divided by 5, that would give me 9. 100 divided by 5 is 20. I cannot reduce that anymore. So that would be the fraction that 45% is equivalent to. Okay, now we're going to write a percentage as a decimal. Again, following the Dr. Pepper method. This is really easy. Okay, I'm going to show you first the Dr. Pepper method. The D stands for decimal. Okay, the P stands for percent. So again, D and P, Dr. Pepper, decimal percent. All this is, you're going to see this little symbol right here. To get from D to P, we just move 2 letters or 2 spots. Okay? To get from percent or P to D, you move to the left 2 spots. So again, from decimal to percent, you move 2 spots to the right. From percent to decimal, you move 2 spots to the left. So watch as I do this. 32%. First off, you got to know we're in a percentage because of the percent symbol. So if I'm in a percent, right now, the decimal is technically right here on 32%. Okay? If I want to change that to a decimal. Again, follow this. We're at percent. You're going to move 2 spots to the left. Okay? And you would now have 0.32. You may want to watch that again. Okay? I'm going to do it one more in this example problem. So it says fill in the box. What is greater? Well, in my opinion, you can do one of two things. All right? 2 ways you can do this problem. If you have a fraction here, you can go ahead and keep that as a fraction. We could change this to a fraction. Okay? Now, what you'll find is that you could change 41% to 41 out of 100. And then you're comparing 13 over 30 to 41 over 100. Now, you could reduce these. Now, what you're going to find is these can't be reduced. 41 is prime, so is 13. So what do you do from here? Okay, well, you could get a common denominator. All right, you could make them both. If you just wanted to do this, the easiest one here would be really just 300. You want to multiply this by 10 and this by 3. And you would notice you would get 123 over 300 in this one. Or you would get 130 over 300. And that one would obviously be bigger. You could have also done, I'm going to do another way. If I change 41 to a decimal, 41% to a decimal, I know this. It's pretty easy to change to it. Again, if you follow Dr. Pepper method, we're in percent, right? So the 41, the decimal's right here. It's a percent, you move it. Again, follow Dr. Pepper, I'm up here. 2 to the left, so 1, 2. That's equivalent to 0.41. Now we have 13 over 30. Well, it's hard to compare, right? So let's change that to a decimal. Well, that's just basic division. 13 divided by 30. 30 doesn't go in. Create your decimal place, raise the roof, add a 0. This goes in 4 times. This gets me to 120. Bring down to 10. 30 doesn't go in. Bring down to 0. It goes in 3 times. Technically, I could stop right here because I know that 0.43 is bigger than 0.41. So I know that 13 over 30 is bigger. All right, here's the next thing you have to do for your homework. Again, more stuff with our 5.1 section over coordinate planes. Make sure you get that done. Okay, we're going to move on to writing the decimal as a percent. It says write 0.4 as a percent. Again, we're going to follow Dr. Pepper method. If I have it already in a decimal, okay, and I'm trying to change it to a percent, well, we're in decimal, so right here, to get from D to P, I move to the right twice. So I got to go 1, 2, fill in the bucket with 0. I now have a number of 40, and we change it to a percent, so it is 40%. Okay, again, we did this actually in the last example, writing a fraction as a percent. Well, what I would do here, if I took 2/3, okay, first off, it's easier for me to change a fraction into a decimal. So I'm first going to go into decimal form and then go from decimal to a percent. So we know how to change a fraction to a decimal by just dividing. 3 doesn't go into 2. Create your decimal, raise the roof, add a 0. This goes in 6 times. You have 18. Okay, subtract, you get 2. 3 doesn't go into 2, bring a 0. It's going to repeat, so you have 0.66 repeating, so we're just going to leave it like that. Okay, and as a percent, if I have 0.66 repeating, all right, it's in a decimal, so Dr. Pepper, here we go. We're in decimal to get to P, move it 2 spots to the right, 2. We now have something equivalent to 66%. Okay, so here's one more example. Again, determining which one is in order from least to greatest. Okay, we have -1/2, 5%, and -0.05. Okay. One thing I like to do is get them all equal to the same, whether they're all decimals, all fractions, or all percents. In this case, I'm a decimal fan. It doesn't matter. I just know if I have -1/2, I know that that's going to be -0.50 or -0.5. I know that 5%, if I did 5% again from Dr. Pepper, if I took 5, I took the number 5, decimal place is here. Okay, I'm in a percent, I want to move it twice to the left if I'm going from percent to decimal. Again, if you notice that, percent to decimal, I'm moving 2 times to the left. So with that being said, fill the bucket with 0. So I know this as a decimal is 0.05. And then we already have the third one in a decimal, negative 0.05. So if I ordered from least to greatest, okay, the lowest or the most negative, okay, would be negative 0.50. The next one would be the next negative number, which is negative 0.05. And the last one would be positive 0.05. That's what would be, those would be the correct numbers from least to greatest. All right, here's your last one for coordinate plane. Got to get this done for your homework. Again, I'm kind of mixing it up in the video. Hope you're watching. Okay, a couple easy word problems. It says in 2003, 68%. Might want to highlight that one. Of the TV set owners in the United States had cable television. Write this percent as a fraction in simplest form and as a decimal. So as a fraction in simplest form and as a decimal. 68%. Okay, first off, as a fraction, we know that's 68 out of 100. If I reduce that, if you're unsure, we know it's divisible by 2. Okay, that would be 34 out of 50. We also know that that's divisible by 2. That would be 17 out of 25. That's prime. Okay, so 17 is prime. Can't do any more. That's a simplified fraction right there. Now, if we know 68%, again, if you follow Dr. Pepper, we're at percent. We want to get to decimal, move it to the left twice. So I take 68 where the decimal is. We know that that is 0.68 as a decimal. And last word problem. When asked about their favorite Thanksgiving leftover, 1/20 of the people said vegetables and 7/10 said mashed potatoes. Okay? Which food was more popular and by what percent? Okay? So if you compare the leftovers, you have 1/20 of the people said vegetables. So again, it's easiest for me. You can do one of two ways. Here's method one. You could change both of these and get a common denominator of 100 because a percent is a ratio or a fraction out of 100. So I could change this bottom by multiplying it by 5 to 100, but I just have to do that to the top. So 1/20 now is changed to 5 over 100, which is equivalent to 5%. Okay? Same thing if you did 7/10. Well, that's pretty easy to change to 100. Multiply the 10 by 10, do the same thing to the top. You would get 70 out of 100, which is equivalent to 70%. So it says which food was more popular and by what percent? Obviously, the mashed potatoes were more popular by what percent? 70 minus 5 is equal to 65% difference. Okay? You could have also just changed both of these fractions into decimals. Okay? I'm going to do this right over here. 1/20. Again, if I did 1 divided by 20, doesn't go in, create your decimal, raise the root, add a 0. It still doesn't go in, so I have to create a 0 here. 0. Okay? 20 goes in 100 5 times. It goes in evenly, so you have 0.05. As a percent, move it to the right twice. So that would be 5%. So we did that, just like we figured out previously, using the fraction way. Now, 7/10. That's pretty easy. You should know that 7/10 is just 0.7. Again, if you took 0.7 as a decimal and moved it to the right twice, that'd be 70%. And the difference, again, would be 65%. All right, that's it for the video. Hope you learned some stuff. It's good review with decimals. Making sure you know the Dr. Pepper method and make sure you know how to work with the coordinate plane. We will see you next class.